All right, Calculus, welcome to your Chapter 3 quiz number 2 review video. This is also a good test review. Your quiz is this Thursday. In class today, we're brought to you by Caldi's Coffee, Caribou Coffee, and Maui, Hawaii's 4th best coffee. All right, Yogi's in the background there whining, wants to be played with here. Differentiate each function. So this first one is the product rule. Derivative of the first function times the second plus the first function times the derivative of the second. That requires the chain rule, and actually the derivative of the second would be, e to the 2x minus 1 just times 2 there. So this is actually b to the 3rd power. All right. Here's number 2. Again, derivative of the first times the second plus the first times derivative of the second. Derivative of natural log is 1 over this u times the derivative of that u. All right, this times this would go up top. Be careful there with the derivative of natural log. Next one here, derivative of the first times the second plus the first times derivative of the seconds. It's very similar to number 1. You got to use the product rule there. Number 4, just use the chain rule. Derivative of cosine is negative sine, so it's negative sine of u times the derivative of u, which is just 3. Put the 3 on the outside there. Guys, on 5, we've done this one a bunch. Divide everything by x, so you're left with that quotient rule. Low d high minus high d low, all over the square of what's below. Okay, that simplifies quite nicely. You can pause this whenever you need to. This is going to be a little quick. Product rule, derivative of the first times the second plus the first times derivative of the second. When you take the derivative of this, it's derivative of sine u, which is cosine u, times the derivative of that u. All right, so that'd be 2x cosine 2x plus 1. That was why we got that out there. All right. Next page, I'm going to give you all the answers here, so I'm going to have to maybe move a little quicker. Guys, you need to divide everything by, you could do the quotient rule. I wouldn't. Let's just divide everything by x to the 1/2 power. That means up top, the x's lose a 1/2 power, and then just do the power rule. Bring down the power 1 power less. That one's pretty easy. All right. Here, it's just a really simple application of the chain rule. When you take the derivative of e to the u, it's e to the u, and times the derivative of u with respect to x, which is -3. Put the -3 on the outside. All right, this is an exponential with x as the exponent. So derivative of a to the x is a to the x times natural log a. A here is the base, so it's going to be 4 to the 2x times natural log 4. Then you have to take the derivative of that exponent. In this case, it'd be 2. All right. Now, you would multiply 2 with natural log 4, which means this could be, you could leave it like this. This is an okay answer. Because it's 2, you could leave it as an exponent. So natural log of 4 squared would be natural log 16. Just call this the 1/2 power. Bring down the power 1 power less. Then take the derivative of that u, which is 10x minus 5. I took 1/2 of that to get 5x minus 5 over 2. And I really wrote the square root in the denominator since it's to the negative 1/2 there. All right, this one does take a little bit of time. We did one almost identical to this in class. Guys, we're not going to use the product rule there with 3 terms. No. Instead of cosecant, and you might not know what the derivative of cosecant is. So we're going to write it as 1 over sine x. That's what cosecant is. Put sine x in the denominator. Then it's the quotient rule, low d high minus high d low. It's still a little bit of work. Low times the derivative of the top. Product rule, derivative of the first times the second plus the first times the derivative of the second, e to the 4x times 4, minus high, derivative of sine is cosine, all over the square of what's below. And just simplify. So hopefully I simplified it correctly. If you have any issues, talk to me about it in class. All right, next one, I would just use the product rule. You could write it as tan x over cosine x. Go from there if you wanted. Which really, you could write it as sine x over cosine squared x. Or you can just do it like this. Derivative of the first times the second plus the first times derivative of the second. Derivative of tan is secant squared. Derivative of secant is secant tan. You guys do need to have that one down. Secant squared times secant and secant to the third x. I would use the quotient rule here. Low d high minus high. Derivative of low, bring down, it's to the 1/2 power, bring down the 1/2. Write that u to the negative 1/2 power, take the derivative of that u, which is 2x. Square the bottom. Now I'm going to write everything in terms of the 1/2 power. Notice here the 2's will cancel. X times x to the third is x to the fourth. You have one that's similar like that in your homework. Notice how you have x squared minus 2, x squared minus 2, x squared minus 2. So really subtract 1 from both those powers. You can get rid of the denominator. All right. 14. Just the little application of the chain rule. It's going to be 4 cosine 2x. Take the derivative of 2x, which is 2. 4 times 2 is 8. That one's pretty easy. 15 is pretty cool there. Low d high minus high d low. Derivative of high would be cosine minus high. Derivative of low would be negative 3 sine x. The negatives, so basically negative times a negative, you're going to get that's going to be positive, that's going to be positive. Anyway, cosine squared x plus cosine squared x, or sine squared x is 1, with 3's on the outside, that makes it 3 here up top. So divide everything by 3, and that's what you're left with. That is the best answer. You need to, if you guys see cosine squared x plus sine squared x, you need to call it 1, okay? And you could have factored out a 3. You would have 3 parentheses cosine squared x plus sine squared x. That's 3 times 1, which is 3. That's why I wrote 3. 16, basic use of the chain rule. Bring down the 2, write that u, take the derivative of u. Because nothing is, that term's not squared or anything anymore, you should distribute, and that's what you get. Hopefully. Again, I did this pretty quickly, so make sure all that arithmetic is right. Product rule. Derivative of the first times the second plus the first times the derivative of the second. When you take the derivative of natural log x, it's 1 over that, whatever that x is, times the derivative of that. So it's 1 over u times the derivative of u. You're going to get 2x over 2x, which is 1. So that's a pretty cool answer. We did this one in class the other day, one just like it. You need to write e to the negative 1 over x as e to the negative x to the negative first. Definitely when you take the derivative of the second. Derivative of the first times the second plus the first times the derivative of the second, which means it is e to that u times the derivative of u. The negative 1 would come down and make it positive, 1 power less. So x to the negative second means it's going to be over x squared. X over x squared, that means that x is in the bottom there. All right. And then on your first review, here's the last page of answers. We're going to have to move a little quicker through the second review. Oh my gosh. Low d high minus high d low, all over the square of what's below. All right, minus high. Derivative of low, you bring down the 2, write that u, then take the derivative of that u. So here's how that simplifies. You get 4x to the fourth. You had one just like this on your homework as well. Notice how you have x squared minus 1, x squared minus 1, x squared. They're all have at least one x squared minus 1, so you're taking 1 away. So that x squared minus 1 goes bye-bye. You're left with 3 here. That one now just has 1. You can distribute. You get 3x to the fourth minus 4x to the fourth. That gives you negative x to the fourth, and you should have minus 3x squared. That's the best answer right there, I believe. All right. Number 20. Derivative of natural log u is 1 over u times the derivative of u. 1 over sine x times the derivative of sine x. Cosine x over sine x is secant x. This one's pretty easy. Just write it as minus 7x to the negative 3. Then just use the power rule. Bring the power down, 1 power less. Nothing too difficult there. 22 is literally self-explanatory. All right, bring down the power, 1 power less. That one's very easy, 22. This one's also not bad. Write it as the 1/3 power. Bring down the power, write u, take the derivative of u. Piece of cake there. 24's got a few ways you can do it. First off, taking the square root of x means it is natural log of x to the 1/2, which means you could write it like that. When you take the derivative of that, it would literally just be 1/2 times 1 over x, which is that. Or if I just write it as, okay, it's going to be 1 over that u times the derivative of u. X to the negative 1/2 over x to the 1/2 That would come down to give you x, and then you have the 1/2 there. Anyway, it's 1 over 2x. I like that question. That's a pretty good one. Okay, and then honestly, on review 2, I'm just kind of give the answers there. Basically the same question, so you just practice them. Here are the answers there for on review number 2. Number 1, again, know how to do these. I gave you 2 reviews this year to get you extra prepped. Again, practice these, ask me questions in class. Tomorrow, as in Wednesday, this is, again, Thursday's quiz review. That one's pretty easy. Again, these are basically the same. You should divide the x's, divide the x's out, low d high minus high d low, all over the square of what's below.